What's up guys, David Morris Jr. here, and behind me is the brand new Plunge Pod, and in today's video we're going to do a deep dive review and go over everything we need to know about this so you can determine if this is a cold plunge you should consider for yourself or not. So the first thing I want to talk about is the actual material. So this is the first plunge product to come out that's made out of a UV resistant high grade polyethylene, which makes it extremely durable, and it's also heavily insulated. So you can use this with just ice, or you can connect it to one of Plunge's two chiller options, which is the standard chiller or the pro chiller. More on those later. And hey, after today's video, I want you to take a look at the link down in my description below for Blokes. Blokes is who I've been partnered with for over a year now, and they're a company empowering me and many other men out there to take control of their health. You see, as you're looking for a cold plunge so that you can optimize your health and your recovery, Blokes is a company that I look forward to working with every single month. And here's what they did for me. First, we started with an online health consultation to figure out exactly who I am, what I do, what my habits are, my diet, my exercise, my recovery, my stress levels, and I was able to really paint a picture of who I am because we are all so different. Number two, they had labs that were designed specifically for me, and they sent a phlebotomist out to my house to take my blood so it didn't have to inconvenience me at all. After reviewing my results with a board certified clinician, I had a doctor prescribed personalized treatment that was designed specifically for me. And yes, a big part of it is exercise, diet, and recovery, but if you don't have a baseline and know exactly what you're working with, you don't really know how you're improving. Blokes is one of the companies that I can't recommend enough to any men out there, and if you're a woman watching this, they also have a woman's division called Joy. I'll put links to both down in the description below, and I highly encourage you, if you don't know exactly where you stand on the inside of your body, get a consultation started with Blokes. And if you're watching this in the month of November, they have a huge sale going on right now. If you use discount code MOSS, it takes 50% off your lab. And if you're watching this after Black Friday, it's still a very aggressive discount. So check that out after today's video. Now let's get back to the pod. Here's a few key features about the pod that make it something worth considering. One, it's extremely space efficient. You can put this pretty much anywhere. You can put it indoors and you can put it outdoors. And because of the insulation, you will not have condensation coming off of this tub. This is the first upright position cold plunge that Plunge has came out with, but it's not too upright. It gives you a really comfortable, unique experience where you're not just upright and you're not laying down. You're actually at like a deep recline. So you are upright, but you're still able to relax and get really comfortable while you're in your cold plunge. Like I mentioned before, it's fully insulated. Even the lid is fully insulated. And if you have kids and you're worried about them popping the lid off, one thing I've realized is it's a little too tall for any kids to climb in, and it does not come with a bench or a stool on the outside, so it's very difficult for them to jump up and get into this thing. But it does also come with a safety strap which you can wrap around this thing and clip it, and it'll keep your lid from blowing away or from a kid from jumping in. While I'm talking about the lid, one thing I really like about this is the way they designed the lid. The rainwater, the bugs, and the fallout from trees, it's typically able to get into some of the other cold plunges that I have, especially the inflatables. This thing keeps my water cleaner than almost every other cold plunge, and I think it's because the lid is designed to fit exactly flush with the base of this cold plunge. So the rainwater, debris, and everything just kind of flows off of it. You have two handles on both sides to lift it up, but there's a lip inside, and I'll show you more details on the lid later when we get inside this thing. But I really think that the lid is something worth noting, especially if you've compared this to any other cold plunge. A good lid keeps the water cleaner. It does come in two colors. It comes in a white color, which you might have seen on my previous video from Running Man. And then it comes in this beautiful granite color, which is a little bit of that gray with some speckle. It looks really nice. Because of the insulation, you can use ice or you can use a chiller, but if you do decide to go with a chiller, we're gonna talk about the differences in the standard chiller and the pro chiller from Plunge and how simple the setup is no matter which one you decide to go with. Now, as far as the space goes, a lot of people are asking me on my Instagram, is this thing big enough for a larger person to get in? And I will say I'm 210 pounds, 6'1", and this is one of the more comfortable cold plunges that I have. The bench that they put in this is very low to the ground. It's elevated slightly, but what I love is they don't have jets on either side. So if you are a larger person or a taller person, you can actually flip around, sit with your back against the deeper side, and it really makes it easy to get fully reclined and fully underwater with ease. I'm gonna take full measurements of this, but one thing you'll notice is it's very easy to get very wide and relaxed in here. And the actual rim of this is above my collarbone without me even dipping down. I have my back pretty much flat against the backside here. And another thing I like is both sides are subtly reclined. This side is more vertical, this side is more reclined. So like I mentioned earlier, you're able to get into an upright, active pose, but you're also still able to recline. It's a deep recline and it feels very comfortable. The tub has absolutely no sharp edges. There's nothing that can cut you or make you feel uncomfortable if you lay your head back or your neck back. The sides and edges are rounded and they're very soft, so it's actually an extremely comfortable cold plunge. Online it says this is rated for people up to 6'7", but I've been in other cold plunges that are also rated up to 6'7". I believe people who are taller would enjoy this one a little bit more. A few other things about the inside that are important to note is that the bench does have channels around both sides, and what it's designed to do is if you ever do get in this and you have dirt on your feet, you have grass or any type of debris that might sink, obviously floating debris is what you would want to use a skimming net for. Get the floating debris out anytime you can. Keep your water clean. It makes for a much better experience owning a cold plunge. But if anything does happen to sink down here, there's channels on both sides of the bench that lead down to the floor, and the floor is completely contoured down to the actual drain. This drain does have a pre-filter, which is amazing. It's going to keep any of that debris from making its way into your chiller, and that is going to help extend the life of your chiller. The number one cause for chiller failures are pumps burning out, and the reason that happens is because hair, grass, different debris makes its way through into the pump, wraps around the blades, and burns out or breaks the blades. Having a really good pre-filter down here like they have on this is going to prevent that from happening entirely. So great job, Plunge, on that. You can also unscrew this to take it out and clean it anytime you want to do a full detail on your Plunge pod. And then the hole above it, that's where the water comes back out. So it creates a nice little cycle. It moves a lot of water in here. Depending on which chiller you go with, you can move a ton of water in here, keeping your water nice and clean and keeping your water nice and cold. So that's the inside. Now let's measure this thing. Overall, the length from tip to tip, I'm gonna round up to give you full measurements because it's not a perfect square. So this is right under 45 inches at the longest point. Now, one thing you will consider is when you do get your chiller will go on this end, the foot end is what I'm gonna call it, and you will want some extra room. So don't take these measurements and think that that's the exact footprint you're gonna need. As you can see on this cold plunge over here, the cold plunge is one thing, and then the chiller is gonna take up a little bit more space. So we'll talk about that when we set up our chiller. But as far as the tub goes, we're looking at just under or right around 30 inches for width. And then as far as the depth goes from the floor, 33 inches. So this will fit inside any of your standard doorways. So if you do want to bring this out to a balcony or something where you are traveling indoors, it will be very easy to fit through any doorway. Now that's the exterior measurement. Let's talk about the interior measurements. So on the inside, we're looking at 41.5 inches at the top. At the width, we're looking at 26.5 inches. We're gonna look at the depth where your feet go. We're looking at 29 inches, and then I'm gonna take it up here to the highest point on the bench. We're looking at 25 inches. So at the highest point from the floor to the bench is elevated about 4 inches, which once again, that's enough to make you feel comfortable, but it's not too much to where it's impossible for you to get your head underwater if you want to get fully submerged underwater. Now at the bottom, at the back where your butt's gonna go, I think this is an important measurement, 22 inches at the very bottom on the bench. If you are a larger person, 22 inches is what you're gonna have to work with the bench, so just kind of keep that in mind. Do your measurements. And then where your feet go, we're also looking at 22 inches. It looks like it's not a perfect square because there's a lot of roundness in here, but it does seem to be pretty square when it comes to the actual measurements here. And then once again, this wall right here does have a slight slant to it. This wall is a little more vertical, but I do love that they put both jets down here in the middle at the very bottom, so you can sit in this thing with your back on either side, and you're not gonna have a jet sticking you in the back, which is awesome. Great design here. So we talked about some of the features, we talked about the actual measurements and specs. We're gonna talk about the setup, but before I do that, I do wanna also talk about the price. So today, as of recording this video, you can buy the pod all by itself to use with ice for $19.90. Most people aren't gonna use ice, they're gonna actually use a chiller, and most people are gonna purchase the standard chiller from Plunge, which is capable of reaching water temperatures of 39 degrees, has excellent 20 micron filtration. It's compatible with the Plunge app, which makes it a little bit easier to get the insights of your plunge. You can track your plunge and you can actually turn it on, turn it off, raise the temperature, lower the temperature. You have a lot of control from the app, which is really cool. And it makes setup extremely easy. There's literally just 2 tubes that you're gonna connect to the back of your chiller and the back of your pod, fill it up with water, plug it in, and turn it on. You should have this thing set up in under 20 minutes. And if you do decide to get the pod with the standard chiller, the price of that is $49.90 for that package. You can add a heat function to that chiller, but it's not recommended to be used indoors, and it does add an additional $500 to that price. The heat feature on these chillers is really meant to help keep the water from freezing over if you live somewhere where you experience freezing temperatures on a regular basis and plan on keeping this outdoors. Now that was the standard chiller. If you do decide to go with the Pro chiller, which has additional benefits and it's capable of reaching reaching temperatures of 37, that price goes to $64.90 with the pod and Pro chiller. And if you add the heater to that, you can use it indoors, and that raises the price an additional $500. Now, at the end of this video, I'm gonna have a great resource for you. It's a little bit of a longer video, but I wanna explain in detail the differences between the standard chiller and the Pro chiller. So make sure you watch that video, at least skip to the part where I talk about the chillers. I'll have that video linked at the end of this one. It's a great resource, answers a lot of the questions that I get on my Instagram page all the time about which chiller they should get. Is the Pro really worth it? Should I just go with the standard? I answer a lot of those questions. And if you have any questions for me that I don't go over in detail, you can ask them down on the comments below, or it's a little bit easier to get a hold of me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is dmossjr. I love engaging with the community there, answering questions, doing video chats, whatever it takes. I wanna help you make the best decision for yourself. So feel free to reach out to me there. Well, that was the pricing. Now let's talk about the setup. First, we're gonna set it up where we want it. And what I love about this is it's not too heavy and it's not too delicate. You know, the tubs are beautiful, as you see. They're tubs made out of acrylic, they're premium, they're amazing, but they're a little more delicate. You wanna have a friend with you, you wanna recruit somebody to help you pick them up and set them down softly so you don't accidentally damage them. Having a material like this, it's a little bit easier to be a one-man show. I brought this thing back here by myself. I've set it up, I've been using it for almost 2 months now. It's been really fun. I've had it hooked up to a standard chiller. I've had it hooked up to a Pro chiller. Today I'm gonna hook it up to a Pro chiller because the last video I did, I showed the entire setup of the standard chiller. Once again, I'll have that video linked at the end here. I will show you the setup, but I also just wanna keep this video a little shorter for you, and we're gonna set it up to the Pro chiller since I already have it here, and it's really easy to set up. So the first thing you wanna do is figure out where you want this thing to be. I like this spot right here. This is my little plunge village. So important thing to note is the backside is where you're gonna have your connections, and your connections are gonna be, this is where the water's sucked in at the bottom, and this is where the water goes back into the tub. This is where the pre-filter is, this is where there's no pre-filter, and then this other side with this little ball valve, that's where you're gonna drain this thing. The cool thing is, it does have an attachment where you can hook a hose up to this if you do have this indoors and you wanna drain it without getting water all over the floor. So you hook a hose up there, run your hose off a balcony into a sink or into the yard or wherever you want the water to be dispersed, and then you just open that ball valve and that lets the water flow when it comes time to drain it. The cool thing is the water drains from the lowest point, so there's very minimal water left in the pod when you do a water clean out. This is one of my easiest cold plunges to keep clean and maintain, so it's definitely a good recommendation for anybody who's trying to get their first cold plunge and they want a really good one for their first. Next, we're gonna grab our chiller. This is the Pro chiller. We're gonna put it right here next to the foot side. Doesn't really matter where you have it just yet because you're gonna want to then grab your connections. So each chiller and each tub has a different set of connections. These are the exact pieces you're gonna need to connect a Pro chiller to the pod. If you were to get a Pro chiller with the Plunge, the connections are gonna be different. If you were to get the Pro chiller with the Air, connections are gonna be different. If you were to get the standard chiller with the pod, different connections, and once again, every one of them is cut exactly to size, so it can bring the chiller as close to the tub as possible without sacrificing performance and without it looking really silly. Another thing I really like is that they insulate these tubes. Now, once again, I've had this out here for a few months, but they insulate the tube so that cuts down on condensation if you do have this indoors, which is amazing. I can't say that for every other cold plunge I've used. They also have a pre-filter. So there's a pre-filter on the tub. There's a pre-filter in the line here before it gets into the chiller. They really want to make sure these chillers last a long time without any issues, and I love that they do that. Another nice thing is they give you these two shut-off valves on both sides of the pre-filter, so when you need to change out and spray out your pre-filter, which all you do is you shut those valves, you open this out, you're gonna take that pre-filter right there, and you're gonna go spray it out, which I need to probably do, but I'm gonna just, for the sake of time, gonna keep that in there. Spray it out, put it back in there. It fits nice and snug. If it gives you any trouble, that means you need to make sure that it's nice and it's straight on there, because it should look perfectly just like that. Then you open these valves back up, turn everything back on, and away you go. When it comes to this Pro chiller, it does have additional features that the standard just doesn't have, and they're really cool features. The first feature you'd probably enjoy is the pause feature. When it comes time to change out your filter, the pause feature is awesome. You don't have to go and plug your chiller or anything like that. You literally just hit the pause button. It gives you 15 minutes where all of the jets are turned off, and you can literally just pop this top off the chiller on the top, replace your filter, clean out your pre-filter or whatever it is that you want to do, and then hit the pause button a few more times to kick everything back on, takes literally 60 seconds to change out a filter on this, which is the easiest chiller I've ever used when it comes to changing out your filter. The standard is different. It's very similar to most of the other chillers out there. You have a 20 micron filter. It's on the back side there. You don't have a pause feature, so you will have to unplug it. You will get water in some places. When you're unscrewing your canister, water will come out. It's just kind of part of having a canister that comes down instead of having a filter that goes in from the top. So there's a couple differences, and obviously that's why the Pro chiller is a little more expensive. It's a little more efficient. It's a little more quiet, and it is one of the better chillers that I have used of all the chillers that I have reviewed. So that's a quick overview. Let's go ahead and set it up. Once again, you have these that are cut to the exact size that you're gonna need. So I always like to start with the bottom, which is gonna be the tube that has your pre-filter on it. And it's kind of like dummy proof where everything's cut exactly the size, so it's not going to fit wrong. You might have to like go crazy to do that, but like it's not gonna fit wrong. This one looks like it's meant to go into this back hole. So just to verify that that's accurate, let's go ahead and take the next tube and put it in the top here. Very easy to screw on. Now, I hate to even say this, but before I screw this on, a lot of people ask me about hooking up their own chillers to the Plunge products. And I know there's definitely people who have done it, and there's definitely a way, but all of the backs of every Plunge product now have like this very specific thread, and that is the piece they have connecting to it. I have not found a piece that you can just buy on Amazon to fit this. So if you have, let me know on Instagram, reach out to me, let me know. But I have not been able to find a piece that fits onto that without completely leaking like crazy. So that's why I haven't really shared any of my thoughts on that, but just kind of a little side note there. And that is why it's much easier to just get a Plunge chiller with a Plunge product. A little bit easier to go ahead and add the back tube here. Once again, you just kind of move the chiller to where it fits. I don't want to screw it all the way in, but screw it most of the way in. And then come over here and put this top one on. And also, if you do purchase a Plunge product, I'll have a link in the description below. It'll save you some extra money. It's always fun when you do that. Lets me know my reviews don't suck. I also get a little commission. So thank you for everyone who's ever purchased anything based off of one of my videos. It is always nice when that happens. But also, when you purchase a Plunge product, you'll have access to the Plunge app. And when you connect your chiller, it'll go through the entire setup with you, literally step by step. It is a very easy setup process, but more importantly, it'll make sure you don't make any mistakes at all. So I'm showing you really quickly kind of how I connect this stuff when I'm doing this. But when you purchase a Plunge product, there will be very, very simple directions that'll walk you through, which will make the setup process even easier. And that's it. So like I mentioned, once you have the chiller hooked up, you see there's a little gap between where the actual pod is and where the chiller is. So you are gonna need more room than just the measurements from the pod itself. So I'm gonna give you those measurements just because I think it's important. Width is about the same, but let's just measure from tip to just over the chiller. So you're not gonna want this side to be against a wall because this is where the controls are for your chiller. It's also where the fan goes. You wanna create easy airflow and circulation to keep your chiller super efficient. But you're looking at, I would say 63 inches is the measurement I would say for overall length. So to fit the pod, it takes up a very small footprint. With the Pro chiller, 63 inches is about how much room you're gonna want when it comes to the overall length. And then because the back has these connections, let's do the same thing here. You're gonna want about 33 inches of room, and this can go flat against the wall because you don't necessarily need to get back there all the time. And if you have access here, this is why they put the control valves and the pre-filter right here. It's very easy to get to. You can have a wall here, and it's not gonna affect the use and maintenance of your pod with your chiller. I feel like it'd be silly for me to not mention this. So this is the Plunge All-In. It's Plunge's cream of the crop. It's all of the benefits, features, functions of the Pro chiller, plus some more built right into a cold plunge. This thing is the cream of the crop. I believe right now on their website, it's like $8,500, $8,900. So it's a little bit on the premium side as far as price goes. But I was just kind of thinking about this. If you were to get the pod with a Pro chiller and the heater, you're spending $7,000 on that. Obviously, if you use my discount code, that saves you some money. So make sure you plug in MAUS, M-A-U-S, that's the discount code to use. And I'll have the link down in the description below to make it super simple for you. But if you were to get that, like if you were to really premium this one up, you might as well just get the All-In. It's a little more money, but it's absolutely gorgeous. It's beautiful. They deliver it with white glove treatment where they can literally set it anywhere you want it. They'll have it set up for you. It's really awesome. All the controls are on the back side there. and it's just a very beautiful all-in system. The entire chiller and everything is built into the back. I just wanted to mention that because it's in the background of a lot of my videos, and a lot of people do ask me about the Plunge All-In. I'm gonna do a full in-depth review. I did one at their factory about a year ago or so, but I'm gonna do a full in-depth review of this one since I have it here, just to kind of help people make the decision. But if you were to compare the Plunge Pod, and the Plunge All-In, all with the Pro chiller and the heating option, you're kind of up there with the all-in price, so might as well just go with that one. I just wanted to point that out because I think it's probably important for me to mention that. Now back to the pod. Now the next thing you're gonna wanna do is fill it up. We have everything set up, so we're gonna go ahead and fill it up. I like to get water up to both jets, filled up with both jets, and then turn the chiller on to make sure everything's functioning properly, make sure I haven't messed anything up, make sure nothing's leaking before I put way too much water in this thing. I always recommend using one of these hose filters. Now Plunge offers these, you can get them on Amazon or whatever. I do have kits down in my description below for cleaning kits to help keep any of your cold plunges clean. But one thing I always recommend and always have is use a hose filter. This just takes out the contaminants, make sure the water you're putting into your cold plunge is clean as possible anyway. That's gonna help extend the life of your chiller, but also just keep your water cleaner longer. One thing about these though is most of them are carbon filters, so when you first turn it on, the water that comes out will be black carbon. So make sure you do not put this in your cold plunge when you first turn it on. Put it out into the yard, put it into a sink, put it somewhere, but don't put it in your cold plunge, otherwise you'll have black water shoot into your cold plunge, and nobody wants that as the first experience of filling up their plunge. All right, so I turned it on, water's clear. Now let's just put it in. We're gonna let that fill up. While this is filling up, I wanna go over just a couple of the small differences between filter changes on the Pro chiller and the standard chiller. Let's do that. Since I'm setting up the Pro chiller, that's what we're gonna talk about first. So the top of the Pro chiller, and what I like about it is it's an acrylic case. It's beautiful. It has that iconic plunge look to it. The backside here is the display that tells you the temperature, the settings. There's a light feature, which you'll see. It will not work in the pod, unfortunately. That only works in the Plunge tub, as well as the All-In. Those are the only two that have lights currently. But it does have a pause feature and then a Wi-Fi feature, so you can connect it easily to the Plunge app. Now, when it comes time to change a filter, all you're gonna do is this. You're gonna press the pause button once. You can press it as many times as you want. It has 15-minute increments all the way up to an hour. You would pause the water if you're someone who likes to get into stoic water, no circulation, no water moving, or if you like to go under the water and snorkel and you don't want water moving around and really messing your flow up. So there's a couple reasons why you would want to pause the water other than just changing the filter. But when it comes time to change the filter, you pause it, you pop this little top off, kind of like a pool top. You will open this. Sometimes it can be a little sticky. And this is what's cool. Water just, it won't go anywhere unless it's on, then water will be shooting out of this. And then you take out your filter, which looks like I need to change it. It's a larger filter, 20 micron filter. It's a larger filter than most of the other filters. It's a little wider. And then what I like to do is, while this water is nasty in here, before I put a new filter, I like to just put the hose inside here and just kind of like get the nasty water out. This is just what I've been doing. I don't know if it's like part of protocol, but just get that nasty, because the water in there is just the filtered water, right? So I try to get that out of there, let that kind of circle and get that all out. The water in there was a little slimy. I live on Florida well water. If you ever see my water has like a yellowish greenish tint to it, it's not because the cold plunges are bad, it's because my water is Florida well water. So now we're gonna let that happen. I'm gonna go grab a new filter for this, and we're gonna keep this thing filling up. Got a new filter. You literally just put it in there, make sure it fits. There's a little nub in there that you wanna make sure the filter fits into. There's also a little nub on the top here. Same thing, I should probably clean this off. My water here is not very clean. It has like a little slime to it. Make sure that the nub goes in there and it fits perfectly. If it gives you any resistance, it means that your filter's pinched. If your filter's pinched, that will prevent your chiller from functioning properly. Turn it till you can't no more. Put the top on, filter's changed. It's that simple. And as you can see, the water is above both lines, so now I can go ahead and fire the chiller up and make sure everything's functioning properly. This is also a good chance to look on the backside and make sure all of your connections aren't leaking. They shouldn't, but sometimes they will. Once again, we have to screw it in, so we gotta make sure that it's not leaking. So now I just plugged it in, the chiller's already firing up. You can see some bubbles coming out. It's purging the water through the chiller and the pump on its own. It does that naturally. The chiller's making some noises because it's purging, and bada bing, bada boom. I can see the water coming out. Quickly talk about the standard chiller. So I have this on, I'm not gonna change the filter. I just replaced the filter on this, but it's very similar. You have a pre-filter over here. You can unplug this chiller. Once you unplug it, you can close both of these, which you can then rinse out and clean out your pre-filter, which is great. It does have a shut off over here, so that will prevent a lot of water from coming out of this when you open this, but this canister can get a little tight. they give you a tool. That's what this is for. This tool has a magnet and it'll be right inside here on your standard chiller. You'll take that tool, slide it up under the canister, and lefty-loosey, you'll loosen up the canister, take it off, pull it out, take the filter out, just like we did over there, put a new filter in, and then you're gonna wanna screw it back on, make sure it's tight, open these out, turn it back on, plug it back in and turn it back on. So the maintenance on both chillers, extremely easy. You're changing out a filter, it's pretty much it. One of the other major differences and upgrades on the Pro versus the Standard is the Pro does have ozone. The Standard, I do not believe has ozone. I have not asked the question directly to Plunge. I just don't think it has ozone. It doesn't say it anywhere online. So I'm just gonna assume it doesn't have ozone. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments below and I'll make an updated video. The outside is also made out of a white powder coated steel. So it is nice, but obviously the white acrylic on the Pro is very pretty. But it's more money, so you just gotta figure that out, what makes the most sense to you. But maintenance, once again, very easy. All right, so if you're hearing a fan, that is this fan on full blast. It is pumping as fast as possible. Now, a couple things about all chillers to know. If you do keep this inside, when this is chilling your water, this fan is going to produce some hot air. It's producing that hot air because it's cooling down the chiller components inside. So it's important to note. I definitely have had some people over the past couple years of reviewing products say, hey, you know, I set up a cold plunge inside in a small like closet or a small gym and it's very hot in there. Well, that's because chillers create heat. It's important to know. So this fan is pushing out some hot air. Let's talk about really quickly how to function the Pro chiller. So it's very simple. You can connect this right to your Plunge app on your phone, which makes using this very easy, very simple. But if you don't want to use the app and you just want to use the chiller, this is how simple it is. You literally can just press the down arrow or the up arrow to change the temperature. You have the light feature, which once again only works on the Plunge tub or on the All-In, but you won't need this chiller. For now, that might change. The pause feature, and then you have the Wi-Fi feature for connecting this chiller to the app, which makes it super simple. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this to 48 degrees. It's kind of hard to see. One thing about this display that I wish they would change is I wish they made the LEDs brighter. I can see it clearly myself when I get close to it, but it's not something you can see from afar unless it's darker outside. When it's dark outside, it's very beautiful. But during the day, it's a little difficult to see what it says from afar. You have to get pretty close, and you probably can't see it at all on the camera. But that's using this chiller. It's extremely easy. Now let's get into the Plunge Pod myself and talk about that. So I did one of the things I always talk about not doing. I left the hose in here, I went inside, I did some work inside, and I came out, and that's kind of the benefit of having a cold plunge outside is I don't care if water gets everywhere. It's kind of nice. I don't have to worry about that. However, if you are setting this up inside or on a balcony that you can't have water just flooding everywhere, what you're gonna wanna do is fill this up and leave about 6 inches of room, maybe even 8 inches, depending on how big you are, and then get into it and see how the water displaces. Now, because this is a smaller volume than a tub or anything like that, and it's pretty vertical walls, the water will go up a little higher than it would in another, say the Plunge tub, for example. The water's gonna go up as well, but because the walls kind of go out and it's a little bit lower and it has more volume, the water doesn't move up and down as much when you get in and out. This, the water will get up. So as soon as I get into this, it will overflow all over the place. I just wanna go ahead and warn you of that. And what I like to recommend doing is give yourself 8 inches, get in there. If you can, if you have the time, let the water fill up to where you feel comfortable, and then get out and put a little dot with a permanent marker or something so you know where your fill line is, because truthfully everyone's fill line is going to be different based on the size of you or the size of the person who's going to be using it primarily. So it's a cool little tip, just might help. But now let's get in. I also changed my shorts because I dirty up like 3 pairs of shorts a day with all the cold plunging, sauna, and workouts I do. I do always wear almost exclusively Legends. I love these shorts. They have liners. They have a nice little pocket in the liner here when I go on long runs. Put my key in there and just go. They have 2 pockets here, a little pocket inside for your phone or something. Gives a little more security, and then a zipper pocket on the back. I do love these shorts. I've purchased myself. They didn't send them to me, but I purchased myself probably 30 pairs of these. These are the Luca. They have 5-inch and 7-inch liner. This is not sponsored by them, but I do get questions like, dude, what shorts are those that you wear? I wear Legends. There will be a link down in the description below. I am an affiliate with them now, but I just want to let you know because they are sick. And when you find a pair of shorts you like, you got to share it with the bros. All right, now let's jump in. Here comes the overflow. Yeah, that's a lot of water that you would not want on your floor if you had this inside, I could tell you that much. Let's talk about my experience inside the Plunge Pod. It is one of my favorite cold plunges to get into because it does feel like a warm, cold hug. I say a warm hug because there's not a ton of space for you to really spread out. You're sitting in an active pose. You've got room. You can pull your knees up into your chest. You can sit cross-legged. You can have your feet against this other side wall. The bench is there, but I'm actually not really sitting on it because when you get into a cold plunge, you are buoyant. You actually do float a little bit. So you're gonna float to a level and you can figure out what's a comfortable level for yourself when you're getting in and situated into a cold plunge. The question everybody loves to ask is how easy is it to dunk? This is extremely easy to dunk. What I'll do is literally just put my hand behind my head. It's one of the easiest cold plunges of this size for me to dunk in. Now, once again, I'm 6'1", and that was me sitting on the bench side. Now, if I wanted to, I could turn around and put my feet up on the bench if I was taller, and now I'm completely floating. My butt is not touching the bottom at all, and if I wanted to dunk on this side, super easy. And I think because of the size too and the shape, you can kind of pin yourself. You can use your body, like your feet, your knees. You can pin yourself down under the water and keep yourself underwater as long as you want. This would be an easier cold plunge of the smaller ones to snorkel if that's something you wanted to do, which is where you take a straw or a snorkel and you get fully under the water, your entire body's in the cold water, and you're breathing through a straw or a snorkel. Some people do that. That's crazy, but I don't really do that. But I do love getting into this and just sitting back in an active and relaxed pose. It's like I said, a recliner, so it's really comfortable. The jet and the intake where the water's coming in and where the water's coming out, I've never even felt it until just now, until I put my hands down on it. It is cool the way it literally shoots the water under your legs. So some cold plunges have the jet pushing the cold water from the chiller right onto your chest, or in like an awkward position on the side where the colder water is just kind of hitting one random part of your body. Because it's in the middle where my feet aren't, the cold water is getting pushed underneath me, hitting the wall and kind of displacing into the cold plunge from there. So it's not uncomfortable. And yes, getting into a cold plunge is uncomfortable because it's cold water, but it's not uncomfortable on one random part of your body. So I definitely love all the thoughtfulness that went into making this. They didn't just put a random cold plunge on the market. They thought about it. They wanted to have something that was small enough for everybody to be able to fit into any small apartments or anything like that, durable enough to be a one-man show. If you wanted to throw it up and down, carry it up and down stairs, it's pretty much, I mean, I don't think you can really damage this thing. It's insulated, so you can start with just ice, or you can connect the standard chiller or the pro chiller and really up the level to whatever you're looking for in your cold plunge. So I definitely think if the pod is on your list of considerations, it's one I would heavily consider. I've really, really enjoyed it. And most people who've came over and jumped into any of my cold plunges have really enjoyed this one as well. And if you do want to get yourself one, there's a link and a discount code down in the description below. And if you're watching this video sometime in the month of November 2024, they have probably one of the craziest sales I've ever seen them do. It's 15% off all of their products. Make sure that you use the link in the description below. That'll take you there and save you 15% off of this pro chiller, sauna, showers, anything. If you want the Plunge All-In, 15% off of this level of product is a lot of money off. So definitely take advantage of that if you're in the month of November watching this video. And if you're not, my discount code will save you money any month of the year, but 15% is pretty incredible. So make sure that's the benefit of watching this video earlier and why I'm putting it out early in the month of November. So I'm a fan of the Plunge Pod, but what do you think? If there's any questions you have that I did not answer in this video, pop them down in the comments below. I'll answer them here. Or if you have a more specific question you want to talk to me about more personally, reach out to me on Instagram at dmossjr. Love to answer your questions and help you make the best decision for yourself there. If this video was helpful for you at all, please like it if you have a YouTube account and you're able to. I just hit 50,000 subscribers this morning. It's really motivated me. I can't, like 50,000 people have subscribed to this channel. It's just, I'm so humbled, thankful, grateful, blessed, all of it. And that just tells me to keep going. That just tells me to keep taking this seriously and keep putting out the best information I can on the best products that I can find out there. I really appreciate everyone who's been along for this entire ride with me. There's some people who have been with me, subscribed to my channel since before I had 1,000 subscribers, which wasn't even that long ago. So I appreciate you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much, my friends. I'll see you on the next video. Have a great day, and God bless. Oh, and hey, before you go, like I mentioned, you definitely should check out this video here. This is the full in-depth review of that plunge behind me and a very detailed overview of both chillers. So check this video out here. And if you haven't seen this video right here, I think you should check it out as well. Check out one of these two videos because I think they're both pretty cool. But you're the coolest. See you guys.